Asmongold's full and honest Diablo 4 review. I'm actually super curious what he thinks, because I heard he either quit the game lately or is not playing 2 seasons or something like that. So I'm kind of curious what Asmon actually thinks of
My
the Diablo
thoughts
4.
on Diablo 3. All right, let's start over. My thoughts on Diablo 4.
Okay, I
Let's
got
talk
God.
about, obviously, the campaign. I think the campaign was very good. I liked the campaign. Campaign was very well put together, and just overall, I liked the cinematics. I think it flowed together very well. Everything was voice acted. There were great little cutscenes. Nothing is bad about the campaign. I think the campaign was
Yeah, I actually feel like the campaign got a pretty hard rap for some reason. I think a lot of it is because people want to just, like, they already know what Diablo is. They just want to go to it and instantly get into the grind and get the gear, which is fair enough if that's what you're into. But, like, I legitimately enjoyed the campaign. I remember I was playing it with my buddy Kyr Mobile when we experienced the in-game cutscene for the first time, and we saw the big twist of Inarius, you know, spoiler alert, of Inarius getting killed basically by Lilith. We were like, oh my God, like it was actually a moment that made us excited. And so for me, like the campaign, while maybe I didn't enjoy the process of like going through the camo quest, for instance, like the campaign felt actually good for me. And I honestly didn't understand the people who skipped through the campaign and then said the campaign was trash. It's like, I don't get it. You didn't watch it.
a universal W, and I was very happy about it. I also think that it left off on a position to where it definitely opens up the possibility for expansions, and it's obvious what those expansions are going to be, right?
Mephisto's coming.
You've got the Mephisto shit. Like, obviously, I mean, how many fucking times have we killed Diablo? Like 15?
Yep.
And he keeps coming back. I'm sure Lilith will be back too. So you've got Diablo himself, Baal, fucking Mephisto, like all that stuff. Yeah. So campaign was amazing. The gameplay, this is the best way for me to describe the gameplay for Diablo 4. I think that the levels one...
Nobody cares about the story, by the way. No, I just disagree because, like, I care about the story. I actually liked it. I get that you play it once and you're done, but to me that adds to the point. It's yeah, just experience it once. If you only have to play it once, why are you skipping through literally everything? I mean, unless you're trying to be competitive, I get that. You want to, you have to rush through in order that you're racing other people. Totally get that. But like, just experience the campaign once, enjoy the cutscenes. You never have to do it again.
Through 80 in Diablo 4, 1 through 70, maybe a little bit to 1 to 80, depending on your RNG, are better than PoE. And I think 70 to 100 or 80 to 100, depending on RNG and how well you play and stuff like that, that part is better in PoE. Because
For sure.
I feel like Diablo 4, it misses that last fifth of the game. Like 1 to 20 is great, 20 to 40 is great, 40 to 60 is great, 60 to 80 is like mostly great, and then 80 to 100 is like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this? I'm farming all of this gear. I'm getting all of these Paragon levels for what? To kill Uber Lilith and get nothing? Who cares?
Yeah, which apparently you don't even need to kill Uber to get the super rare uniques. So that's essentially why you hear people complaining now who are the more average audience. Like, they're now starting to hit the 80 point. So now you're starting to hear, like, the end game's a little bit boring and more. And then you were hearing that basically the first, like, 2 days because the people were already hitting, like, max level after, like, 2 days. So those people experienced it way earlier, whereas the average guy is just, like, playing the game and having a great time. Like, you know that meme where it's, like, the dude, like, super sweaty, like, trying to blast or something. And then you have the guy who's, like, dancing and singing while playing the game. Like, it's basically that meme.
Cares? Right? There's no point to it. I'm not motivated to continue doing it. So, like, I feel like I just run out of motivation to continue doing this, right? It seems for nothing. Yes, it's just for nothing. Yes, maybe I'll get them out. Maybe I'll kill Uber Lilith at some point. But my motivation for it is very, very minimal. Somebody brings up in chat, Race to 100, hardcore is super fun to watch, but seeing all the illegitimate deaths was a letdown. Blizzard is fixing that. Everybody said I was wrong with this. Apparently Blizzard disagrees. So I think that's great to see. Blizzard is changing that. On top of that, another thing that's happened.
The hardcore thing was I originally wanted to play Druid hardcore from the beginning, and then after playing the early access build and seeing how many bugs there were, it became blindingly clear to me that if I played hardcore from the literal start, then all I am really effectively doing is preparing in advance to make myself be miserable. So I decided that I just didn't want to experience that, and I wanted to have a good time playing the game. Shocking, I know.
Happening is they're adding in like little bonus things into the game, right? Like the gem tab. I do not understand how adding a gem tab into this game. I don't understand how this takes until season 2.
Agreed.
And I really hope that Blizzard realizes that not everybody in the world lives inside of Blizzard time dilation, where like changing the spelling on something takes 10 months. So if the game is bad, people are just going to move away from the game.
Yeah, true.
And a lot of times they're not going to come back and play it whenever it's good again. And this is what happened with...
It's actually like a really good point, is that I feel like games in this generation, like they live and die off hype. And if you are not prepared as the developer to, when the hype goes up and it starts to go down, to fix it, but fix the reasons it's going down, like you're in trouble.
This is
I do
what
think they're
with
trying.
Shadowlands, is that Shadowlands was bad for so long because Blizzard refused to listen to what the player base said. And then by the time that it was improved at the end of the game, well, nobody cared anymore. And Diablo 3 was the same thing, yes. So I don't think that Blizzard can rely on people just waiting around for the game to get better. They need to be making these changes proactively, immediately. New World is another great example of this.
Yeah, in my opinion, by season 1 needs to be the core fundamental flaws of the game by season 1 need to be ironed out. That's my take.
Immediately. Like, I don't want to wait until season 7 for the game to be good.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous because by the time season 7 comes out, people are going to lost interest in the game. I think that's another big issue. A lot of these changes have come, they've been too slow, basically. So just in general, the cadence of changes has been both very fast and too slow. Some of the things like
it's fast when they're fixing bugs that are like leveling people too fast, but it's not fast when it comes to like fixing the gym tab issue, basically, and the things that are like quality of life. Yeah, I get that.
Making adjustments to different abilities, nerfing things. I play a Whirlwind Barbarian. I'd say like 80% of the nerfs were definitely warranted. Like it just was insane. It's an insane class. So I definitely understand why they nerfed it, but, like making the classes playable, I think is another issue, because whenever I leveled, and this is mainly experience from the beta, I haven't really played the live game, but as far as I know, a lot of that hasn't really changed ever since the second beta and the server slam, is that the experience playing the game and the experience leveling 1 to 50 as a barbarian and a druid is decidedly worse than the other classes. And it's worse for no reason. Because inside of all of your skills...
So originally I actually disagreed with this take, because my original point of this was like, okay, but they're really good late game. And I have since been convinced the other way, where it actually doesn't matter if it is good late game, that people won't make it to late game, because the game, as I've said myself many times, isn't designed for late game. And so because of that, the focus is on early. And because the focus is on early, the issues with being frustrated early are, they're way more obvious.
Your talents and everything like this. There are coefficients that increase these numbers based off of the level that you are.
Also, the point in chat... but every class is good late game is also a great point. I mean, that's Diablo for sure. So I actually completely agree with that take.
Different secondary stats. And I think Blizzard would be doing themselves a really big favor if they just made barbarians and druids more fun to level. I think this is like an easy W.
Yeah.
And it's just
that's
not
true.
a fun experience. I think that also this problem is like... It's like multiplied because in Act 1, a lot of the fights in Act 1 are melee unfriendly, right? Where you're fighting like the girl's mom, and there's like the succubus mobs running away from you constantly, and then the fucking Chosen of Lilith is standing inside of the poison cloud it dropped, and you just have to attack it. It doesn't feel good to play melee. and or to play a barbarian and to play a druid in early game. And I don't really see that being a positive. I don't think that it's a good thing.
Well, and then it feels worse late game, because then later on when you become a druid, and what you actually end up doing is like you're shooting basically shockwaves, which are more or less projectiles, as like pulverize or even tornadoes. Then you have the stupid suppressors that are the circles that just delete your move out of the game anyway. So like it always feels terrible.
That one class is just bad, or it's less fun to play, or something like that. I don't see any advantage to that, and I think that it's a universal negative. So they should make those two classes more fun to play at early levels. I think that also, like, the builder-spender meta that, like, a lot of classes have is kind of boring, and I think that it's, like, it doesn't feel good, and I would ask this to anybody in the chat, right? Does it feel good to use your basic abilities? No.
I'd say most of the times no. The Bone Spear build doesn't feel terrible, because I know I'm applying vulnerability for the Bone Spear, but I mean, the Bone Spear applies vulnerability in and of itself, and a lot of the damage is the destruction of the shards afterwards. So yeah, and I'm struggling to think of a single basic ability off the top of my head that does feel good.
So why do they exist? Yeah, it's just stupid. I also think that with Barbarians specifically,
it's making some good
like
points.
More class design type stuff to slow your game, but they don't, because whenever you're at max endgame, you never use them. Like, I basically never use this ability. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess fundamentally that's right, because if you don't have enough, if you are having to generate your spirit or mana or whatever by spamming basic attacks, it basically means your build isn't complete for the most part, and you're losing a lot of damage because you're not spamming core skills. So really the whole thing boils down to how many core skills can we get out with some of the other moves doing something to basically affect core skills, etc. So, yeah, okay, yeah. To be honest, it's kind of convincing me a little bit here.
I'll use it every once in a while, but for the most part, I'm using Whirlwind. I could take Lunging Strike off my bar, and my gameplay would not change that much. So I think that the basic abilities and the necessity to use a basic ability that feels bad for, like, the majority of the game is pointless, and it's not fun. I don't see the reason why they can't tone down the cost of abilities earlier on in the game, because it would just make the classes more fun to play. Like, that's really all it comes down to. So imagine waiting until Season 2 to fix a bug. Yeah, and so other things, like Blizzard has been very receptive in a lot of ways. Like, they've been listening to, like, the gem tab, for example, they're going to be adding, but again, it's going to be taking until season 2, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, this is outrageous that you can't make this change in the middle.
You know, this didn't really bother me when I heard it in the campfire, about the gems being there for season 1, because I believed their sales pitch of, we can't add it to season 1 because season 1's basically already wrapped and we're putting out, we want to change anything. So I was sold on that. The longer it goes and the more I have to look at my gems, the less that I'm okay with that.
Of a season? What the fuck are you talking about? This is an always online game. You can force a patch to everybody. What do you mean you can't change the game inside of a season? It's ridiculous. Let's talk about, I guess, like the dungeon farming meta. I think that Blizzard should just immediately add the reset dungeon button back into the game. We had this in the beta, and Blizzard decided that it was a bad idea, so they removed it. I think the removal of the dungeon reset button has only made the game worse, and people are still using dungeon resets. They're just doing it in a contrived way. They're doing a workaround for it, and that workaround
which makes the menu simulator even worse.
Hurts solo players, and it hurts people that don't want to try and get into a group just to, like, metagame out some sort of, like, restriction that Blizzard decided.
Yeah, actually, I don't even want to do that. Like, I have a group. I could farm it. You guys aren't seeing me do this on stream all day, every day. I know this is the most efficient way to do it, but I literally don't want to do that. Hold on, Kitty needs in. All right, we're back. Kitty's in.
Like, I don't want to do that. It's annoying to me. But it is the best way to level, and if you want to level quickly, that's what you have to do. So Blizzard has taken something that was a quality of life feature and removed it from the game, and then in replacement of that, they've added something that's not fun. So I think it's a really big mistake for them to not have the what do you call it, the reset instance button. There's no reason for that not to happen. oh, you can't, you reset the instance while you're inside of it, that's bad. Well, yeah, I think it is bad, but like, isn't having to sit into a group and then change instance over and over and over inside?
Yeah, kind of true. I mean, that's actually kind of true, because like the one thing I don't get is that like, I'm okay if they say that the implementation of the way they want is the way they want it, sure. But like, what I don't get is that fundamentally it's the same thing. That the reset instance button is literally the same thing as making a new party. So why are they okay with them making a new party? They haven't changed the way that works, but they just don't want the reset button. Aren't they kind of the same thing?
Inside of a loading screen worse? I think it's way worse. So I don't want to see Blizzard go down the route of making the entire game worse in order to throttle the 0.1% of power gamers. You should let them do what they want to do, and then let everybody else enjoy the game without a bunch of unnecessary restrictions to try to stop those people from playing it more efficiently. Now, obviously, there's going to be exceptions to that, but that's generally the way that I fall off on, and I think that overall, would I be having more fun if the game had a reset dungeon button? The answer to that is a pretty simple fucking yes. How many of you guys join a dungeon in Diablo 4 and you think, oh great, what stupid bullshit am I gonna have to do this time? Because that's the way I feel. Yep. Am I gonna have to kill all the mobs and like, there's one little fucking goblin that's sitting over in the corner.
Which, to be fair, they sort of fixed because the mobs teleport to you now.
And because it was kind of close, but he's in another room, you have to like run around to get him, and you didn't actually have him get pulled to you at the end. You've got to rescue 7 villagers, and it's a spider area, so you're getting the little spiders attacking you constantly. It's like they're very annoying, and I'd like to have more dungeons that were just focused on killing mobs rather than completing menial tasks over and over and over.
Yeah, but then the killing the mobs is the one that's the most annoying, to be fair. Like, I actually thought that the slay all enemies was supposed to be changed to like slay 80% of them, which I thought was a way better fix than kill all and having like them randomly teleport on top of you so it kills hardcore characters. I actually, which to be fair, I'm not hardcore, so what do I know? But I actually do not understand why that changed. I thought maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought the devs said that not only are they going to do the thing where like the minions come to you, but then also you don't have to kill 100% of them. I thought it was like you're going to have to kill a certain amount of them, which I liked I was like, okay, I liked that solution when I heard it, but it didn't seem like that made it into the game.
They're obnoxious. Also hitting dead ends or missing something and then having to run back and get it again. I'm not asking for just like pure fucking all gas, no brakes, greater rifts. I don't mean that. But like at least make the things that you have to do not as fucking annoying. Also, doing the like these are gonna be like little things. Like I don't really have this structured very well in my head, so I'm gonna be kind of jumping around a little bit. But like inside of the dungeons, the events inside of the dungeons are fucking garbage. Every single like wave that you do after wave 5 should have more and more elites. Like more and more and more and more until you either die or the timer runs out.
Are you guys are you hearing this animal? Cat, I literally just let you in. Kitty's taken care of.
Because that would be really cool. Like I don't want to do like I'm on wave 9 and 3 succubus spawn. One's here, one's here, one's here, and then there's also a fucking demon that spawns over here. And you kill them, and then it's like, okay, now there's 4 succubus. Oh. Okay. Thank God. So
I mean, the events in the dungeon are a little lackluster, but to be honest, I don't really care about them that much. I just skip them. I kind of just don't even do them.
Like, you need to have a way to complete the activities faster. Because having to sit there for an entire minute whenever you're just re-killing non-elites over and over, how many of you guys just skip the events? Because I skip the events every single time.
There it is.
Unless, like, I'm just really bored or I just, like, want to do something new. Let's look at some of the affixes. Let's talk about Suppressor. Suppressor sucks. Why is it that my whirlwind snapshots my location? Like, if I go inside of the suppressor, I should not have to recast whirlwind. And if it's teleporting away,
Wait.
like, you know those...
Wait, hold on. Is that real? Wait, hold on. Do you have to if you whirlwind starting from outside of the suppressor, you go inside the suppressor, your whirlwind does no fucking damage? That's how that works? That is horrible. Wow. That is... Oh, wow. I hate that. I've never even done the Barbarian. I hate that.
Mobs that the second that you engage them, they immediately teleport away. That's insanely fucking annoying.
Yeah,
whenever the main glyph that everybody uses automatically applies vulnerability as soon as you hit them. The exploit glyph, where the fuck is it? I think it's like right here, right?
Yeah.
Marshall exploit. Yeah, this one here. So like it's designed in a way to be as annoying as possible. Why the fuck would anybody want to do that? And especially if it's one of the vampire guys. Because not only do they turn into a bat and then move away, but they also teleport away with their abilities.
I thought for sure it would be like every instance of damage. You know what I mean? Like every instance of your damage is recalculated. Why would they snapshot it 30 seconds ago? I mean, a lot of you guys, I'm sure as barbarians, aren't you just holding whirlwind down the entire fucking dungeon? Just plowing through everything? That seems stupid.
So you're dealing with that shit as well. And I also want to emphasize, as I go through all these things in the game, I would recommend buying Diablo 4, and I do think that it's a good game. I'm
glad he says that, because it's like, I very much try to be careful when I have my complaints, because I have spent years trashing on games I don't like, and I'm kind of sick of doing that. And on top of it, when you say like one or two negative feelings about the game, no matter how many videos in a row you say you like the game, then someone's like, I knew it! I knew this game was trash! Blizzard sucks! They're fucking greedy piece of shit devs! Like, it just instantly goes there, and like, I hate that.
It is an extremely solid,
have
good
a fair
game,
conversation.
But god fucking damn, it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
It could be a whole lot better. I mean, the reason why I say that is because I think the level 1 to 70, I mean, I think most people could agree with this, right? Levels 1 to 70 is a good experience, where like you get more and more powerful and stronger and it feels better. Like, I think so. At 1 to 50, sure, 1 to 50. And just 1 to 50 is a good amount of time playing the game. The problem with the end game in Diablo is very simple. There is nothing for you to achieve past level 80, except for more Paragon levels and maybe getting the exact same piece of gear that you already have, where it says a 13 instead of a 12.
That's basically right. I mean, you have to do Uber Lilith, you have to do Nightmare 100 Dungeons if you want to, which I haven't even bothered pushing for, because why? You got to level your glyphs, then you make new characters and wait for the season. That's what everyone's waiting for.
Is this really a good time? Is this really fun? I don't think so. So what they need to do is they need to add a tier 5. They need to add a world tier 5, and then have different items drop there that have more than four affixes. Because I think that only 4 affixes on gear is kind of boring. I think gear in general is kind of boring. I think the best example of that is the weapon ability pool.
I'm kind of okay with the number of affixes we have and the affixes we have. I just think the way we acquire the items is the boring part. Like, the only way to get them is you just farm and you get a drop, and then you can enchant one line. Maybe, the gambles or something, I guess. But it just, for me, it's the how they're coming into the character that's the boring part. It's not necessarily once I have them, I feel they're boring. It's the acquiring them.
So like core skill damage, damage over time, damage to injured enemies, damage to healthy enemies, damage to bleeding enemies, damage to basic skills, damage over time. Like, all of these things are just different percentages that don't fucking matter, that don't change your gameplay.
And very often actually add together to be the same fucking percentage you times it by anyway, so yeah.
Any sort of a meaningful way. It's just percentages that make the number go up. They don't feel better. Like, for example, if you compare it to, like, patch 5.4 in Mists of Pandaria, your character plays massively fucking different because you have more haste, more crit chance, and more crit damage, and more mastery, so you can proc more things. So I don't really feel like my character is becoming Like, it's not really coming online, and I'm not getting these cool abilities.
The problem is like the coming online thing where it's like suddenly you deal damage and you're, if they do that, then basically, because people are already one-shotting like everything, then basically the only way they do that is by have you be like screen clearing instantly, and then we're right back into Diablo 3, boys. So I think what they try to do is basically crunch everything down, reduce the speed of the game a ton, but it's an ARPG, so people feel that their gains are so small, which they are, that by the time they get to the end game, they don't feel that different from when they were in the early game. But if they make them feel completely different, the only way to make it feel completely different is to just blow the power level scaling of your character through the moon. And I think instead what they're going to do is kind of keep the numbers smaller, keep the pacing of the game slow, but then they're going to add in new content to go through and conquer. I think that's their strategy instead of just making your character become a god, if I had to guess.
Whenever I'm leveling up, I'm just getting more percentages. And if you compare this to Diablo 3, at the beginning of the game, where attack speed scaled your crit damage, and your crit damage scaled with your crit strike, and then all of these scaled with your main stat, the game felt a lot more complete in that way. And you could actually feel your character getting stronger, and the way your character played was better. So that's one big factor. I think that it just doesn't really feel any different. The mount system. So let's talk about the mount system. We're going to go outside. We're going to look at it. Let's say I want to go over here. It works, right? Sometimes it works. Let's say I want to go over to here. Why not? Is this a joke? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, but that's also not the way it works if you pull your character off, right? Like if you get off the horse and you click over there, you're going to run into the wall also, right? Because you're following your mouse. It's just kind of the way the game works. It's not RuneScape.
This is horrible. Why is the pathing so bad on the mount?
I mean, I'll agree with him. The mount's bad. But I think there's probably better ways to explain that point.
It doesn't go around? What the fuck is this? Lost Ark does it better.
It does.
Korean pay-to-win game does this better. And by the way, it does it a lot better. It's not even remotely close. Also, why is the mount on cooldown? Like if I get off the mount and I want to click on something, why is it a 6-second cooldown? Why is it not like a 2 or 3 second cooldown? I think that being...
Yeah, just cool down the attack from the mount. Because, like, the mount itself has a CC when you get off of it. So if you get off the mount, you'll stun or freeze somebody, etc. And I would assume the concept is they don't want you spamming a horse CC as a literal combat movement, or like a combat ability. So therefore they add a incentive for that. I also think they don't want you running away from people in combat, but I think there's other ways to do that. Like if you've been in combat lately, like you can't use the horse, and then it's just like a global ticking cooldown every 1 second. As soon as you're out of combat, you can get it or something. But yeah, the cooldown on the horse is also...
Able to make your mount run faster is really cool. I like that. I think that's a really cool thing in the game. I'm a very big advocate of that. I think it's really cool that they added that. And like the open world events like this, I think are fucking amazing too. I really, really like them. Where you can see people out in the world doing stuff, fighting other mobs. I think that is so cool. And I also think that the mount customization is pretty cool too. I wish you were able to zoom in a little bit more, but for the most part, I'm very happy with the way the game is in that regard. In terms of like the open world and the graphics of the game, I think that they're all really, really nice. And I think that, again, the real problems in this game, they manifest themselves towards the very end of the game. Like,
yeah, I think that's why I was fairly positive upon release. And it's slowly, as those people get into the end game, you'll start seeing complaints pop up, is because the first front half of this game is actually really well done, which is also why it's like, I think it's a shame to like skip through the story. I think it's kind of a little bit of a shame to like blow the level 100. The whole like race to 100 thing, that they did almost seems counterintuitive to like the point of how they designed the game. So them pushing the race to 100 almost seems like a mistake to me because it puts the focus on the 100 instead of the focus on the 1 to 50, which is where the game shines. So I feel like that was a marketing failure.
At the beginning of the game, most of these problems you don't have to deal with. Like, they're not really a big issue or anything like that. Also, sellers, it would be nice if sellers were a little bit more worthwhile.
He's spot on about these sellers, by the way. I did like 3 sellers in the early access. One of them was a treasure goblin. And then I was like, oh, you know what? These treasure goblin sellers are actually like a fire away from me, the one to do sellers. And then I never saw one again. And every time I've gone into a cellar, it has always, literally always been a waste of time. Never once have I cared.
Personally, I don't think that there's ever a reason to go and do a cellar.
Bingo.
Like, people say that you can get a bunch of treasure goblins or something like that. Maybe you can, but overall it doesn't really make that much sense. Anyway, I guess you can talk about, like, I think a lot of people that play the game know what I'm talking about with this. Like, the different barricades that the game puts up. There is never a time that you want to get off your mount whenever you're riding to a dungeon to destroy a barricade to kill 2 skeleton archers that are standing.
Okay, this is very easily solvable, Blizzard. When you have your boost, when you use the boost, you can blow through the barricades and destroy them and knock people aside. This is the obvious solution. You don't have to remove the barricades. You don't have to remove the minions. You don't have to remove any of that. You just make it where your boost, it gives your dude momentum where he either jumps the barricade or he destroys and blows through them. This is so obvious. It will take it from the barricade being a point of frustration to, oh, there's a barricade, and it'll be a Grand Theft Auto moment of you hit the button and then you, like you destroy. You'll feel good. You will feel good doing it, and it will literally flip the narrative from like this being a dog shit piece of the game to be like, oh, this is really fun. Like, oh, there's a barricade. Let's blow through the barricade. You will want to do it. It seems obvious to me.
Standing behind the barricade, doing 1/100th of your health every 5 seconds. It's fucking annoying. Now, I don't think that they should remove the barricades. I actually don't think so. But I think that whenever your horse is in the gallop motion like this,
he's gonna fucking say
the horse should be able to break through the barricades.
Let's go! I'm not.
That way,
let's go, dude. Not pre-watched at all. Let's go, dude. He actually. Okay. Hey. Someone else is on this. So it is obvious. Like, it is actually obvious. Let's go.
The world of, like, you know, you can see different things happening in the world, and you know, like, your character has an impact of what's happening, or spacebar to pass it. Well, spacebar does that, right? And so you can push through it and break down the barricades if your horse is in gallop mode. I would like that a lot. I would think that was very cool. But yeah, that's kind of my feedback on mounts. Overall, I think that mounts are probably added into the game primarily to give players something else to spend money on. And that's it. Oh, and then I got knocked off my mount there due to this thing, and now I can't get back on the mount for 15 more seconds. Very, very cool. And so I just have to walk now. Overall, I think that Diablo 4 is I think it's a very good game. But I think also, if you play it enough, you will learn to dislike it. And I think that it doesn't really reward players that play it a lot. Like, for example, if you play the game, you know, like 50 hours, I think that you're going to probably have a really good experience playing the game.
Yeah.
But if you, here, like this. Okay, this, actually, to be fair, that one was pretty good. But many of them are not. If you played the game, you'd know that. 15 hours, yeah.
It's the bone ones that are the real problem.
Well, that's why I'm giving feedback now. I'm talking about the game now in Season 0, so they can't... So then they can't be like, oh, well, we didn't know. No, people are talking about it even now. Because Diablo's a very popular game, right? I mean, this game is the fastest selling PC game in history. So a lot of people want this game to be good. And I think that Blizzard owes it to its community to listen to the feedback from players, listen to what people have to say, and improve the game.
On top of that, like, not only do a lot of people want it to be good, but there's actually just like a lot of people playing the game. Like, the numbers are unbelievable. I don't know if you guys saw the first week numbers, but like they sold $666 million worth of copies of this game, and it was like breaking records. You know, there's a lot of people playing the game, so like, yeah, they should probably fix
like
the
this
very
thing
obvious
where
ones.
like your cursor, if your cursor is closer to the horse, it doesn't move. Like just stupid shit like this.
Yeah, remove that. 100% remove that.
Why is it like this? What's the point of it? Overall, I think that just stop making things in the game annoying. I think that's probably the main.
Yeah, Blizzard does kind of get in their own way with this. Like, there's a lot of things that are really good in the game, and then they just add a lot of annoying shit sometimes. Yeah.
The main complaint that I have is that there are certain things in the game that add challenge, but they do it in a way that's not fun. So like while like yes, technically this does make the game harder, it makes the game harder in a way that's not enjoyable to overcome.
Yeah, we're not trying to play Flappy Bird. We're trying
to an extent, this is going to be a personal opinion. So like some people might not view it this way, but I do.
I must wait.
I think
if I wanted to walk my horse, give me the shift button or something that allows me to walk my horse. Like, I don't need to like have the nuance of, oh, I need my cursor to always be on the edge of the screen, because then it makes harder to do the actual angles I need to do with the horse.
It's annoying. True that post 80 addicts pay the most. When it come close to 1%, I pay 90% of players. Microsoft are professional people calculating these possibilities. Well, I'm not sure. Overall, I just want to see, like, this is what I want to see happen. I want to see them add a tier 5 for level 80 plus players that has like new uniques.
That's coming.
Higher drop chances for the rare uniques like Shaco and Grandfather, and there's a few other ones. I'd like to see that happen. I don't think that it is great game design. Yeah, like this.
Yep, that's the one. It's the bone one.
Just fucking annoying.
There's no reason for it.
It's just fucking annoying. Like, and that's it. But I think that the outdoor content like this is actually great. I like it. I want to see them add more stuff like this. Yeah, this kind of stuff is really good. And just giving people a reason to go out into the world is a major positive and like a huge W in my opinion.
The overworld is a gigantic upgrade over previous Diablo 3 in my opinion. Like the overworld itself is like a very good reason to want to play the game because it feels like a living, breathing world. Thematically, it's better. We're not stuck in these stupid fucking corridors or just walking the same thing over and over again with a minor difference in tile set. I actually very much like the static open world. I think it's a good base. I don't think it's complete. I think it's a very good base to start with, and hopefully they add on to it sooner rather than later would be my take.
Yeah, I even made like a list. I don't know if I can find the list right now of like all the things that I'd like to see happen with Diablo 4.
We looked through this list. This was a good list.
But overall, I think that Blizzard has a great foundation for this game.
Yeah.
But in order for the game to like really be good and get people to continue coming back for season after season, I think they really have to look at some of the fundamental mechanics and rethink the way they work. Like just affixes that are fucking annoying. Like the ones that you have to like run and stand underneath the like electricity thing or it one-shots you. You've got 15 other fucking sound effects playing. If you want to be staring at your mini-map to see if you can find this little thing, it's just fucking annoying. And it's not like it's hard, it's just fucking annoying. I think that whenever
They do kind of do a lot of things that don't really ramp difficulty, but feel like chores. Where it's like, hey, go down a checkbox list of make sure you do this, make sure you do this, make sure you do this. Congratulations, you're winning. Like, that is a very astute point. That there's a difference between difficulty and annoyance, and they are leaning towards the annoyance side of the difficulty check. I think he's pretty on the money with that.
Challenge to something is just that it's a roadblock, and it's not like there's any sort of like real gameplay to it other than overcoming the roadblock. I don't think we really need the roadblock. Way too much backtracking in dungeons. Yeah, nobody ever wants to go back and do a dungeon that they've already like cleared and run all the way through it again.
Unless it's Nightmare Dungeons, to be fair.
It's just annoying. And so you add, so like basically you add friction for looking through your map because you don't have a mini-map. And besides adding friction for looking through the map, you also punish people for not looking at the map. Are there any affixes you enjoy? I think the fiery affix is fine. Like, the on-death mechanics are kind of annoying, but overall, I think the fire affix is fine. Let's see.
Not ready yet.
The meteors are fine. I think those are okay. I don't know. I'd have to think about the other ones, but that's really what...
I don't like the rock and I don't like the lightning. I don't mind the corpse exploding too much because I understand that's kind of a fundamental, like, don't stand on the corpses. That's something that's been in ARPGs for a while. I get it's more of an understood staple. The giant rock that just follows you around like an annoying animo that just smashes the ground, and then the stupid lightning that happens, and it's like, oh, you have 3 people and you guys aren't right on top of each other's dick, well then congratulations, it's on this person and now you die. I hate that. I honestly hate that. It's stupid.
Comes to my mind. The volcano one, yeah, the volcano one is fine. I think a lot of them are okay. Also, poison. Anytime I do blind burrows, I'm just constantly poisoned for my entire health bar, spamming potions. Like, maybe this is something that's going to get fixed with them rebalancing resistances, but for now, it's just obnoxious. Like, I never want to do that dungeon because of that. World bosses, I think, are good. I don't mind world bosses. I think it's a cool way for you to show off your gear, if you've got really good gear. And also, it's just an easy way for you to get gear as well yourself.
World bosses are the target dummies of this world. That is what they are. You will get some gear, and they have the opportunity. Some of them can drop cosmetics. Other than that, they're not, like, for your progression. At least not as far as I can tell.
Like, this kind of stuff is, like, really... Like, the fact that your mount runs at the speed that your mouse is farther away from the cursor, or the middle of the screen, I think is silly, too.
He's really doubling
think they
down
need
on
to
that one.
change that.
He doesn't like that. He's mentioned that a couple of
They
times.
need to hit harder? No, they don't. It's a world boss. It's a loot pinata. World bosses are loot pinatas in every single game.
Yeah.
There's no glory to it. It's just a target dummy that people get to go and hit. I think annoying things are fundamentally good in games as they create stress and concentration, and eventually relief when bypassed, which in reality dopamine, which increases addiction. So you think people get it? So you think the more annoying a game is, the more addicting it is? I don't think that makes any sense. I think that if you apply that logic in a large scale, then it would just be better to make a game more and more annoying, right? Because it would just make people more addicted.
Wait a minute, isn't that what mobile games do? And mobile games are annoying as fuck. You know what's really annoying? Having energy resource in order to actually be able to play the game.
I think that there is a big difference between something being annoying and something being challenging. Like, for example, there are a lot of games that aren't annoying and they're just challenging or hard. A lot of things in PoE are not really annoying, they're just really hard or hard to see.
There's also a mix of both when it's a target market for that. I'm sort of nitpicking here, but there's like a getting over it or going up, like the ones that are both annoying and hard.
Which you could say is annoying, but overall I don't really think they're that hard. It's a weird way to look at things that annoying gameplay is actually a good thing because it gets people to overcome it, and overcoming annoying gameplay releases dopamine. So, like, if that's the logic, and the goal is to release dopamine, is the only way to release dopamine by making annoying content, or are there other ways to do it, like making challenging content that you feel good after you beat it? So, you have some of these, like, outdoor world events. I personally find them pretty boring. How many of you guys go out and do these outdoor world events?
I don't know. I'm 50-50 on this one. I do a good amount of these overworld events. I would rather do overworld events than do the same damn dungeon over and over again, to be honest. I'd rather walk in the open world. I find the overworld more appealing than instances personally. But I find that because it's more of like an MMO type of thing. It feels more like a world than I'm in a room.
Because to me, I only do them whenever Helltide is up. But yeah, I mean, the open world, as you can see, once you have really good gear, and like my gear isn't even like fully optimized. Like there's people that do way more damage than I do, and like nothing is really a challenge. You just go by and you just roll shit down, roll shit over, and it's super easy. Stuff like this, like, by the way, is like really cool. I like stuff like this where you can get like trapped and there's like skeletons that come in and attack you. Like, that's actually kind of a cool... It's a cool type of annoyance because it's actually, like... You get to fucking blow up a bunch of mobs. Like, that's why, because it's cool.
Yeah, and it's also something you kind of have to look out for, and it's also kind of makes sense. Like, they're popping up to attack you, you know what I mean? Like, it's enemies, they were hidden, it's an ambush, it feels a little natural.
I completed all my renown. Yeah, I mean, overall, like, again, I'm very positive about this game, but I think that there's no point to play it after level 80. Like, I'm effectively just wasting my time right now.
Yeah, it's about trying the classes.
I go in,
You'd
I
have
do
to
a
play new
dungeon.
classes.
I know, like, I'm not even looking at the loot. Nothing that they drop is going to be good. Like, I could loot it just for gold, maybe, so I could re-roll an item that I already had. But, like, do I really feel like doing that? Probably not. There's good uniques from 85 plus. Yeah, but, like, how many of those uniques has Rob gotten, for example? And he's been level 100 for, like, every single day, ever since, like, the second day. He plays the game 24 hours a day. So, like, if he hasn't gotten these uniques, you're probably not going to get them either.
Yeah, true.
So, like, just think about it from there. Like, I'm surprised so many people get hoodwinked by that.
I'm not ready yet.
It's like, as soon as you think about it, you realize, like, how rare that really is.
They're basically
The fact that Rob hasn't
unobtainable.
gotten those is crazy. That's because the drop rates are garbage. And the reason why the drop rates being garbage is bad is because the drop rates in the game are... Like, in PoE, it's okay for something like a mirror to exist because you can buy a mirror. The reason why it's not fun for things like that to exist in this game is because you can't buy them. You just have to, like...
I'm somewhat split on it because, like, he is right. The super rare items in the games that I have enjoyed previously, like RuneScape, are in fact tradable, which is a point that, like, I hadn't thought about with my original take of unobtainable, like, rare items are actually good for games. But if you have to obtain them yourself and they are basically unobtainable, you can't really obtain them now, can you? So he's actually kind of probably right on the money here.
Randomly roll the dice over and over and over until maybe you get lucky. And I find that to be, like, infinitely less fun than going and actually working towards something over time.
Yeah,
it's actually one of the
okay,
reasons
that's
why
a
I
fair
quit playing
counterpoint,
Diablo 3
yeah.
Reaper of Souls, is that I lost my ability to work towards a goal. Because
Plus, how am I as a streamer supposed to beg my audience for gold donations in a game if I can't use the gold to use it to purchase the best gear and pretend I'm good at the game? Like, I think that is a huge flaw for me fundamentally. I should be able to just get... I should be able to have all the gear just freely donated and not have to actually play or work at all. I should just be able to cosplay as an actual good gamer.
Trade items, I couldn't do anything. So I just had to sit there and just constantly run rifts over and over and over. And hopefully, over time, I'll get something good. Just wants easy mode to while streaming? Well, if you listen to what I was saying, you'd know that I'm actually asking for a hard mode. I literally want a hard mode. I want a hard mode that drops better gear with more interesting affixes, and it does it more often. That's for endgame players. So yeah, I'm actually asking for the opposite. Now I understand, like, Diablo is a game that's catered primarily towards casual players. But I don't think that catering primarily towards casual players means that you can't make content for hardcore players.
Yep.
I think there's also, like, there's this myth of there being, like, a dichotomy between there's only the people that play, you're either level 41 or you're level 100. There are a lot of people out there who play the game every day, but they only play for, like, an hour, and they will hit level 83. Or they'll hit,
yeah,
like,
I mean, this is, like, already starting to happen, to be fair. That's why I'm seeing a slow increase in comments of, like, hey, so what do I do now that I'm, like, 85? Like, I'm starting to see those comments approaching YouTube, which means those types of players who don't have, like, all day, every day are starting to hit that point, and they're starting to wonder, okay, what the fuck now? Which means season 1 needs to arrive fairly rapidly, which is mid to late July. It probably should be mid-July, because if we wait to late July, probably going to lose some percentage of the audience.
90. And they're like the semi-hardcore player base. Like, this is what I'm talking about, by the way. Like, literally exactly what I was talking about. 2 oppressors, and then a succubus. And I'm just stuck here, re-killing these same normal mode mobs. Over and over and over.
For me, cursed shrines and the healing wells are way too cursed way too often. Resplendent chests are like 9 to 10 of the times, or have some guy attached to it. I almost don't even want to pick. Like, I basically don't pick up greed shrines when I see them, because I don't want a fucking cursed shrine, because I'm trying to beat the dungeon so I can get whatever glyph reward or whatever I want from the dungeon anyway. So half the time when I see a cursed shrine, I'm actually like, oh, or if I just see a shrine, I'm like, oh, because like I just know it's going to be cursed and I'm going to have to kill these stupid mobs again.
I've cleared 9 waves and now nothing's spawning anymore. And now the elite spawn. How exciting. But yeah, I think this game has a great foundation to continue growing and improving. I think that Blizzard has shown that they are willing to listen to the player base. And I think the development team for Diablo has done a very good job in doing that. So I have like a lot of faith in the game to improve and to get better. I think that the core gameplay of Diablo 4 is really, really good. And I think that it's more responsive and fluid than PoE. In terms of like how it feels to kill monsters and stuff like that. And this comes as somebody who's like a major PoE fan. I basically quit Diablo 3 in order to play PoE. So like that's kind of a big deal for me, like personally, to think that. So I just like to see them continue improving the game. And as I said before,
that's kind of what keeps me encouraged is the dev team will openly acknowledge the problems. Like, for instance, they're basically being transparent in the way you get Shaco drops. They addressed, like, the gym tab issue. They basically addressed everything except maybe, like, the horse issue. I don't know if they mentioned the horse. Even the stuff like the corpse explosion mist being annoying. Like very small things. They are actually addressing, which gives me hope for the season. Someone in chat made a good point where, hey, we should probably start talking about the seasons to like lock in the player base. That's a pretty smart point from like a developer side of it, which is it's probably about time to start letting the people know what to look forward to with the seasons. We're probably just about there. I think I agree with that.
I am very excited to see where this game goes. I think that the game will continue to improve and get better. And this is one thing that I would say to anybody who is like basically defending some of these bad decisions that Blizzard has decided to make, is that if you make excuses for a bad game, you get a bad game. I don't think players should make any excuses or be okay with any of the things that are wrong with the game. Whether it's the stash tabs being fucking garbage, whether it's having to redo Renown for seasons, whether it's having to having these sorting things that are awful and having no stash tabs at all, like 4 stash tabs, that's it. Like anybody that plays ARPGs knows that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's in my review. I was saying like we have to fix the gem thing. We have to fix the fact there's no search tabs. My eyes get burned out from looking at this small little text with a million different items. Like, absolutely, there are issues. I think the one thing that gets annoying is a lot of people who just start the game. I think this is why like people don't like to see complaining. You see people like defending the points. Is a lot of people who are just starting the game or who aren't super in deep into it. They're just excited and want to have fun with the new game. They just brought home basically a new toy, and then it's like their sibling being like, oh, I had that toy last week. It's a shitty toy. And then you're sitting there like, but I just got it. Like, I just want to have fun. So a lot of the times it isn't even that those people disagree with the point. It's just that they're having fun now. You know, they're enjoying it now. And all they're seeing is all the people who have already got past to where they're at, like shitting on the game and saying, you have nothing to look forward to. So you have the people that are like, but I'm right now having fun, so why are you trying to tell me the game sucks when I like it? Like, there's a lot of those type of things I'm realizing. I've seen plenty of these people that what happens is they literally get burned of their love or excitement for whatever they're doing now because people are telling them to stop having fun because they're wrong for liking the game. And, a hype around the game and how other people feel about the game is very, very, very important for a lot of gamers, because even though we are what I would say more or less hermits for a lot of us that sit at home, at least for me, I sit at home, I don't leave my house at all. I sit here and I play video games. I've done it for years. I don't do anything else, okay? Never go fucking outside. I very much care what other people think about the same game I'm playing, even though I'm never going to meet these fucking people. If everyone else hates the game and I love it, I will feel worse about the game, even though all of their opinions literally will never affect me. And if I hadn't read them, I would feel better about the game. It still does. And so I think that's where you get the people that push back against stuff that are legitimate points, because they're annoyed and burnt at hearing a bunch of people shit on something that they're trying to have fun with.
What if they don't think it's bad? Well, if they don't think it's... I think that there's a big difference, right? I acknowledge that other people don't have the same complaints that I have with the game, but I don't think that them not having the problem means that my problem is invalid. And if fixing my problem, if they don't care about the issue to begin with, why is it not a good thing that they fix a problem that some players have with the game? Does that
and obviously he has a good take too, which is that other people complaining shouldn't ruin the individual's experience with the game, which is correct, but very often it does. I'm not saying that the people who are sending feedback should stop sending feedback so that the people who don't get pissed off who are just starting, but I'm just saying that's what happens. So you have to send feedback. You have to complain about the stuff you need to complain about. You have to tell the devs where the problems are so the game is better for the people that haven't even picked the game up yet. And at the same time, you have to do it at somewhat, or you don't have to. I mean, you can do it however you want. It's God bless America. It's freedom. But if you want to not get roasted by other people, or if you want to not try to, basically ruin the game for people around you, you have to try to send constructive criticism as opposed to overwhelming negativity. They are different things.
Makes sense. So, why is it good that Blizzard holds on and, they try to, adhere to, some mechanic? Oh, I don't care about this mechanic. It's not a big deal. Well, okay, that's fine. So then if you don't care about it, it wouldn't be a big deal if it got changed. I just hope that Blizzard's able to listen to players. I also think we should be able to zoom in more on our character. In Lost Ark, you have the overhead view, you have the close-up view like this, and then you have one more view that's right up close. I don't know why Blizzard doesn't do that, because it would give people another reason to look at their character, which would probably cause them to spend more money in the game, because they can see the armor that they buy more. So,
I think a good example of not being able to actually partake in a conversation is Capminter in here, which is basically saying that he hates the game because it's based upon battle passes and constantly trying to resell you something. But also now you're saying that, don't you realize that Blizzard doesn't care because they already sold you the game? You're just not trying to partake in an actual conversation. You're only looking to I want to try to get one in there. It's you're arguing with yourself right now. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know why you can't do that. I think that Season 1 definitely needs a tier 5.
By your own logic, they should care.
By
your own logic, they should care, because if they are trying to sell you battle passes, which is your first point, they should care because they want to sell you battle passes, so they need the people to still play the game.
More to do. And I would also like to see some of the early levels be a little bit less painful for druids and barbarians. And I'd also like to see more interesting items and stats. I think those are the main things that Diablo 4 needs the most right now. I would recommend the game. Absolutely. But I think that if you play it past level 70 to level 80, depending on what your RNG is, you are going to be effectively just repeating the exact same thing over and over, and you will get bored. And that's what they really need to fix. They need to fix that last fifth of the game. And if they do that, we're going to have a really, really solid game. Too soon for Tier 5 in Season 1, it would be great, but I think they said the patch for Season 1 is already in testing. Am I the only person who doesn't care about what Blizzard's internal rules are for developing content at a certain rate of time? I don't care if it's in the testing phase or not. It's not my job to care about their fucking process. Every day that the game is bad is bad. I'm not saying it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, like I mean, I get the excuse of them needing to make sure that season one doesn't get fucked up by adding in something else and having bugs. But it sounds to me like they're just scared of fucking up season one because they know it's so important that they don't want to add important quality of lives within it. And yeah, I can't really argue against him at this point because honestly, like the gym tab needs to happen like now.
Fixed instantaneously. Of course, I'm going to be reasonable about it. But don't create your own red tape based off of your corporate structure and then say that it's impossible when you're sending out hotfixes every fucking day to stop buffs or to stop class exploits. This is clearly not the case. I don't care if oh wow, we have to get this approved by Xbox again. Okay, well you better start.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty reasonable. Yeah, it's to be honest, it's pretty hard for me to argue with a lot of the points there. I think the only part that I'm like mildly on the other side of is like I don't mind ultra rare items in games, but he makes a good point of like you can't trade them, and in all the games that I have experienced where I like ultra rare items, they're basically tradable, which is part of the reason I like them. Because I know I can build to acquire it. So I think I'm willing to give a little ground on that one. But most of those were pretty reasonable. I also feel like the game is fairly good. It's a good fundamental base. I think Season 1 is going to be very important. I think if Season 1 is a giant flop, I think a lot of people will be disillusioned with continuing the game over years. I think Season 1 is going to be a very large indicator of what to expect going into the future for the game and what people right now are concerned about. I think most people aren't really saying that the game is complete garbage. I think people are worried that they're not willing to develop the end game and instead they're just going to focus on like, you know, cosmetics and stuff. So if they actually do show willingness to develop an end game and they do that through Season 1 being a good example, then I think that's going to incentivize people to continue to play the game going into the future.